Welcome to Module 6. So we're going to talk about a plan of care amendment in this module. So just want to remind folks, as you work with your clients or members that, that plan of care does have updates that have to come along that are regulatory through Department of Health, through the health home. And that's that the plan of care must be updated at least annually for adults and every 6 months for children. But amendment can be brought forth at any point in that time frame, but you have that minimum of every 6 months. So as a member achieves goals, interventions, objectives, that should be reflected in the care manager note, as we talked about. We want to make sure that consistent documentation of that progress is occurring for that person within the record, the electronic health record, that is. And that plan of care amendment is also going to allow the health home care manager to add additional items to the plan of care. So as items have been completed or discontinued within the existing plan, an amendment is going to allow you to add new goals, new items within the plan of care. And you want to make sure, if there's a change in that person's needs or their circumstances through that plan of care life cycle, that you've done an amendment along the way to address that as well. So when you're completing an objective within the plan of care, you want to make sure you do that care manager note, because that's going to identify that the objective has been completed and when it was completed. So you'll see in the screenshot, I've highlighted completed, objective status completed, and the end date for that objective. So now that's closing out that objective in the plan, and you've got a date linked to that. In this example, there's a Borat will complete a Section 8 housing application with Saratoga Springs Housing Authority. There was a completion status identified, the end date has been identified, and then there's a note, an intervention update note that's in there. Borat's care manager, Travis Bethel, met with Borat face-to-face on 10/29 of 20 and successfully completed the Section 8 housing application. The application was submitted to Saratoga Springs Housing Authority and accepted on 10/29 of 20. So now you've closed that loop in the plan through this note. So as we've gone through all the modules, we talked about the various components of care planning. We talked about the different philosophies around self-determination, around motivational interviewing, around person-centered planning approach. We talked a lot about how to write goals, how to make sure they're SMART goals. We've talked about the timelines for the care plan itself. We've talked about all the supporting documents as you're engaging members through the cycling of the care plan process. And again, it comes back to the care planning life cycle, which we started off with the training today. And this cycle is as such where you have a crisis or event, as was originally indicated, that brings that person to you. So now you have that foundation through that person-centered planning pyramid. You have that foundation, through the motivational interviewing, where you're starting on that fresh slate, if you will. So now you're enrolling that person, you're engaging them, you're collecting all the information, you're assessing it, you're identifying strengths and weaknesses, you establish goals and priorities based on all that assessment and gathering that information and getting to know the person. You're establishing trust, credibility. You're getting that self-determination theory in place where that person is becoming empowered, that they feel that they can engage based on their strengths and actualities that they can do and follow through on things. So those goals and those priorities are a reflection of the types of things they can do to continue to build on that progress. Then we reassess, and then we look at the objectives again. So that comes into the whole amendment through the plan of care. You reassess, you reestablish goals, reestablish objectives, you implement them, you reassess again, then you take inventory, you really assess where things are at with that person. You talk about their progress working with that program within the care coordination, the care management through health home. That's an ongoing discussion you're having to work towards that graduation or that lesser level of care, if appropriate for that person. And then, you're ultimately looking to have the goal of stabilization for them as much as possible. So they, in essence, don't need the service or lesser level of the service. And then there's the whole monitoring component that we spoke about through this process that goes on consistently. And again, if the person does graduate or go to a lesser level of care from the program, or if they withdraw from the program, and there's an event or a circumstance that arises where they feel they need that service again, they can re-enroll and they get back, and we start the process over, and we go through this care planning life cycle. So we want to thank you today for all your time and attention to our training on the plan of care. And we hope it was beneficial for everyone. And we really like to thank Jessica Robertson, as well as being my partner in crime today to bring forth the modules. And if folks do have questions, please direct them to the Health Home email that you see here on the screen, healthhome@ahihealth.org. And we'd be happy to answer or clarify anything that people have that they like to discuss. Thank you all, and we hope you have a great day.